Almost 4 weeks ago, silence fell upon the world's loudest sport. Formula One cars, circuits and garages frozen in time. The season paused, bookmarked, to be continued here in Belgium. After all, the story is only half written.
As the war between light and darkness continues, heroes and villains become harder to identify. Kindred spirits separated at birth, fighting for their place in time to be solidified. The clock ticks faster and faster while time runs the marathon in this Babylon. But see, the end is only the beginning of the calm before the storm.
We are ready to go racing in 2013.
Had I understood the message, I would have thought about it. I probably had done the same thing.
Massa is out. Kimi Räikkönen wins the Australian Grand Prix. Räikkönen's hit the back of Perez.
Sebastian, multi-map 2-1.
Vettel's up the inside and he's got past.
2021's it.
Oh, what a tackle! And it's Hamilton! This is shocking. We do not expect to see this in Grand Prix racing. Nico Rosberg wins in Monaco.
Fenomenale. Grande weekend.
Oh, and we've got lots of smoke coming out of the back of the Marussia.
You've won your home race.
Yes, and yes again. Hamilton wins in Hungary and takes his first win with Mercedes.
We should just ban the summer break, shouldn't we? It's been far too long. Welcome to the Belgian Grand Prix. And Spa-Francorchamps is the perfect place to pick up the drama that we've been enjoying all weekend. There's been plenty of it. And David, what a place this is.
Well, it's incredible. There's so much history here. You go back to the 30s when they had the very first Grand Prix. It's clearly as the FIA World Championship been on the calendar since then. And it's the undulation, it's the high-speed nature of this track that makes it so exciting. It's the longest circuit on the calendar. So you're out there amongst the forest, amongst the trees, amongst the fans, amongst your own thoughts for a long time before you present yourself back to your team here in the pit lane.
It really is very special, Spa.
It's very special for so many different reasons. He has his view, the drivers, it's their favourite circuit, but the ones I'm more interested in, the fans. This place is like a second British Grand Prix, and there was a time that we used to have a second British Grand Prix, we say in Brands Hatch. That race is now here in Spa because they come in their droves. Look at them, every absolutely vantage point, every camping site, everywhere is full because this is the end of the summer holidays. Everybody's here.
Yeah, there's an enormous amount of British support and capacity of 70,000 people, and I don't see any spaces, so I reckon it's pretty full today here in Belgium. And really, you know, this marks the second part of the season of Formula One in the calendar. We're back after this long 4-week break. The last race, of course, in Interlagos in Brazil in November. But can anyone beat the 3-time world champion Sebastian Vettel? He tops the standings, 48 points separating the first 4 to Lewis Hamilton. Red Bull command the Constructors' Championship. They've led the field since round 2 back in Malaysia. Mercedes second and Ferrari in third. Now, if you missed qualifying yesterday, you missed some of the most nail-biting action that we have seen all season. It was absolutely stupendous. Here's Lee Mackenzie with the story.
To succeed in the mixed conditions of Q1, you had to be brave, but neither Williams nor Toro Rosso made the right tyre call, and both teams' cars went out. The newer teams were brave. Marussia got both cars into Q2, and Jules Bianchi got his and the team's best ever qualifying, putting his car into 15th. It was a good day for Max Chilton too, who starts a career best 16th. And Caterham's Guido van der Garde held his own and starts an impressive 14th. The rain fell hard as Q3 started, and Paul di Resta was the only car out on intermediate tyres, and the first over the line as conditions looked to worsen. He was in line for his first pole position, but as the field embarked on their final timed lap, conditions miraculously improved. Di Resta equalled his best ever qualifying, but it was 5th. Ferrari didn't maximise the conditions with either car, but neither did Fernando Alonso, who had a spin into his quick lap. He starts in 9th. As the circuit quickened, Sebastian Vettel took pole position, but that only lasted seconds. Lewis Hamilton crossed the line last in the drying conditions to take his 4th consecutive pole position.
I'm not really 100% confident that we have the fastest package in the dry, but of course when it gets wet in these conditions it makes it more of a lottery and the driver can make more of a difference, so I feel like I was able to do that today.
The last 2 Belgian Grand Prix have been won from pole position. Can Hamilton make it 3? He'll have to hold off Sebastian Vettel in 2nd. Both their teammates are on the 2nd row. De Resta is 5th with his good friend Jenson Button, the highest placed McLaren, in 6th. The Lotus cars are on the 4th row, with both Ferraris making up the top 10. Hulkenberg is the best Sauber with Suttel alongside, and Perez 13th. The rookies are in the midfield with race winner Maldonado 17th. Ricciardo will be hoping to showcase his overtaking skills in his bid for the Red Bull seat. Pique is at the back of the grid.
Well, that was just something else yesterday, that session. It really was, wasn't it? Everybody was up on their feet. I think the whole of Britain were jumping up and down to see what was going to happen. And Lewis did manage to take pole position. And there's a few drivers that have looked good all weekend. Fernando Alonso is in 9th. He's got some overtaking to do, but he can do that here. Where are the best spots?
Well, there's a number of good overtaking spots on this track. 2 DRS zones available, one into La Source, the other one after the climb up through Eau Rouge. We have down into the bus stop chicane, of course. And as we get the overhead shots here, we see Eau Rouge and this long straight. This is an image here of Kimi Räikkönen passing Michael Schumacher on the run down. Very reminiscent of what Mark Webber was able to do here with Fernando Alonso. Heart on the mouth stuff as they go through that corner at 170 miles an hour. So maximum respect amongst the drivers. Along the top Kemmel straight here into Lecumbe is another area of overtaking. This is Bruno Senna squeezing around the outside of a Force India on the brakes. It's a very open chicane when you roll the car into that turn. And then also, as we see another image here of Toro Rosso squeezing around the outside of Nico Rosberg, and then his teammate just following him through for good order. Down at the old bus stop, very open chicane here. We have McLaren going around the outside of the Ferrari in the first part of that chicane and then gaining position for the second part. And this is the same again. Sebastian Vettel around the outside of Mark Webber and then rather cheekily giving a bit of a squeeze as they run out of the exit of that chicane. And then we have one final image here of Kimi Räikkönen around the outside of Michael Schumacher. Well, they've only got 8 World Championships between the two of them. You'd expect them to be able to pass cleanly.
It's so good. It's such a proper track. And when you know there's going to be plenty of overtaking, it's just so exciting. The anticipation of it all is incredible, isn't it?
It is. And that's why the fans here find all of the vantage points up on the side of the elevated hillsides here to try and see as much of the action as possible.
It's dry at the moment. Of course, weather plays a huge factor here. And king of the poles, Lewis Hamilton, saved all his best till last yesterday. We can find out how Mercedes are going to play it because Eddie's caught up with Ross Brawn.
Have indeed. And here we are on the perch with Ross Brawn, the mastermind, the person who made it all happen. How exciting was that qualifying?
Yeah, that definitely got the adrenaline going. You kind of get into it quite deeply, so you don't necessarily enjoy it until it's all finished. And there was a lot going on, but the team did a great job.
Why do you think that Lewis sandbags in all of those free practice 1, 2, 3 and then just pulls it out at the last moment? I mean, is he trying to fool us?
No, I think what we had is what we had. We didn't make a great tyre choice in Q2, which put us too close to the edge. That was good fortune, we got through that. But yeah, often he's spending time getting the car sorted, getting it how he wants it, and then he puts the times in.
How much are you enjoying working with him, and how good is he really?
Very much enjoying working with anyone of that standard. It's always a pleasure to work with, and on a personal level he's been very easy to get along with, and right balance of pushing the team but doing it in the right spirit. So,
have you got a good setup for the dry? Do you expect it to be dry?
We do now expect it to be dry, and we've got a bit of a compromise. We've got something in between the two, as I think most teams have. So we certainly haven't got a full dry setup, but it should be okay.
Both cars on the podium?
That's the idea. It'll be great. We haven't, I don't think we've had that this year, have we? Yeah, that would be great.
I've just got to say, With regard to Hungary, was that the turning point? Because up till then, we were never convinced that you could turn the fantastic pole positions that you've had in a row and turn them into race wins. What have you found?
Quite a lot of small details on the car. I think probably we were looking for two bigger solutions, two sort of big bang solutions to the problems we had, and we began to understand there was accumulation of smaller things, and we've done some more things since then, and we've found the tyres remarkably sensitive to some of the changes, which we didn't expect to have such a major change.
We're absolutely thrilled with the fight that you're creating for us in the championship. Long way it continue. Thank you, Ross.
Thanks.
Well, just less than 39 minutes to go before the race. Looking at live shots of Ferrari preparing and talking there about the race ahead. Do you think they were hoping for a little bit of rain today, Mercedes?
I think that they feel they've got the pace, the underlying pace, based on Hungary, to really control this race from pole position. You know, their start systems are working well, short run to the first corner. Rain, actually, as much as it adds variability, it makes it more difficult for the strategists. And if you're starting on the front, you can only really get it wrong. You know, you're never going to get praised for converting that pole. Rain will be something that Ferrari are hoping for, that Lotus are hoping for, and that gives them a chance to try and steal a march on the opposition.
And perhaps the fans hoping for a little bit to change it up a bit. You never quite know what's going to happen, levelling out the playing field and so on.
Spa, you expect some drizzle at some point during this afternoon. You know, it was quite wet overnight. We had a little bit of drizzle this morning. Track was damp for the support races earlier today, so yeah, you've got to expect it.
I think yesterday during qualifying, the whole of Force India and all Paul di Resta fans had their heart in their throats for a period of time because they really thought that he was going to get pole, but he still did well, and Lee caught up with him this morning for a quick chat.
Paul, nice way to start your day, signing a few autographs for the fans here in Belgium. There's a lot of British fans. It's a shame you couldn't quite get that pole position, but in some ways it's detracted from what was a very good qualifying performance for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, there was a small glimpse of maybe delight there, the aggressive way that we went into Q3, but starting fifth is no bad way, and it's equalled our best starting position this year. Hopefully it stays dry and we can have wide elbows. The car's set up for the first sector, so we'll be hopeful that we can try and score some points with that.
Would a dry race suit you better?
Definitely. I think on the lower side of downforce, we were very compromised and just scraped out at Q1, so that made the difference getting through to Q3, and hopefully it'll be the difference between not getting overtaken. I'd be hopeful of going forward, but I think it's more about there's some faster cars behind us that we'll be trying to keep at bay.
A podium, is that realistic?
I'd love to say yes. I think 4 or 5 races ago I would have definitely been up there, but given the form of the last few races, I think anywhere in the top 8 we'd be very happy with, so we'll be trying to stay where we are, if not to lose too many places.
Great. Have a great race. Thanks, Paul.
Cheers.
Live shots of the Force India garage as they prepare. I wonder if we'll get a sneaky peek of Paul. I don't think he's in the back of the garage yet. No, not quite yet. Nervous times for the drivers, especially here at Spa, because we have seen some particularly hairy starts, haven't we?
I think hairy times not just for the drivers. Don't let him get away with that. It was also for the team pulses, because you can never control the drivers, and look what happens here.
1998, David.
Yeah, indeed, this was all caused by
Did you know that
Eddie's
David caused
countrymen.
all this?
This was Eddie Irvine.
Didn't you, David?
Actually, yeah, you can see here quite clearly. He moves across, touches me, spins me into the wall. Well, can you see anything else in the spray? Are you going to take my word or his word?
Figment of your imagination. It's not true. You caused that, actually. Look at all the debris there.
Thankfully, although that was a spectacular accident, thankfully there was no injury to any of the drivers and they were able to have a restart. And again, this is another incident where we had our hearts in our mouth last year when Grosjean coming across the top of the Ferrari driver. And it really does show, you know, as we watch the image of the Lotus coming across the top of the cockpit, scary moment.
You can
Spa has that ability. I must point out to the viewers that, you know, when you're starting on a gradient and the car is moving backwards, it's not the usual thing to happen, so you have to have just a tiny piece of your foot on the brake pedal just to make sure you stay in the right position, and he's probably in far better position to be able to explain that to us, but it just creates a different scenario.
What tiny piece of your foot would you have on the brake pedal?
My foot was always on the gas pedal going backwards.
As long as we're only talking about the feet. Fernando Alonso, how unlucky has he been though in Spa? The last 4 races here, he's been hit on turn 1 and had to retire twice. I mean, he's going to be hoping for something better than that, but it's so complicated to come from 9th in these dry conditions.
I just wonder, actually, do you think his mindset might be, well, at least I'm far enough back to watch any potential incident unfolding? This is actually his worst qualifying of the year, but ironically enough, as a combination of the 2 cars, it's the best qualifying for Ferrari of the season. So it'll be interesting to see if they can make a way forward.
Well, now history says starting brilliantly as well, haven't they, Ferrari?
They have, but 9th, where do you go to here? I mean, you saw what happened to Grosjean last year. I think 9th is a shocking place to start from personally. I'd much prefer to be able to pull the rest of us in about the position that you would probably take if you got an option. You know, I think Alonso, he's never won here, twice world champion. I think this is the one place he probably hates coming to because just the gods are not on his side.
Well, we'll find out shortly, won't we? But looking at all those crashes, we were thinking about the financial implications that they have.
It's part of the game, an inevitable byproduct when pushing to the very limits. It's the crash. An occupational hazard in motor racing. And as a team boss, it's the wallet takes the hardest hit. So when the shattered carbon fibre is swept away, what is the monetary cost of getting the car back on the track? I'm not talking about man-hours to repair the car, I'm talking about hard cash. A front wing end plate can cost upwards of £7,000 alone. But that's just for starters. Losing your entire front wing and nose assembly doesn't come cheap either. Around £100,000 for that component. That hit hurts in more ways than one. And this engine fire saw more than £150,000 go up in smoke. But now we're getting into the major league of accident damage. Take this accident from the streets of Monaco. The front corner hits first at a cost of £100,000. And the front wing, another £100,000. The rear corner suspension will cost at least £125,000. And the rear wing, at least £50,000. The second impact then takes care of the side pod and radiator, with further damage to the underfloor and chassis, costing a cool £250,000 plus. That brings the total accident damage to this one shunt upwards of £600,000. I wouldn't like to be assessing this insurance claim from the first corner of Spa last year. This 5-car pile-up saw damage on a massive scale. Front and rear wings, suspension assemblies, side pod, engines, underfloors. In a matter of seconds, this combined crash cost a staggering £1.5 million. These incidents are inevitable, but it's a price worth paying.
I think there'll be people at home absolutely gobsmacked by that. I certainly was when I watched it. I mean, it's a phenomenal amount of money, isn't it? As a team boss, when you were watching a race, were you just praying that nobody crashed?
No, the first corner is when you have 2 drivers who qualified close together. The worst nightmare is the 2 taking each other off, because then it's the loss of points, it's the loss of results on the podium and prize money, of course, but it's the damage to the car. You could lose £1.5 million between the 2 cars. I mean, chassis are the real problem now. They're really, really expensive, and the carbon fibre, the technology there, and it's moved on a huge amount, really, in terms of the quality of the technology that these people are able to deliver for us. And God knows what it's costing. I'm sure those figures are very undervalued by now.
Well, this is the time of the show where I don my terribly best BBC voice, because Lewis, who's over our shoulder there preparing for this race, and David checked out Old Spa.
A country road in Belgium winding peacefully through the hills of the Ardennes forest. But from time to time, his peaceful life is ripped apart, and the road is now being got ready for different and exciting things.
Right.
We're going to go out onto the old original Spa.
I've not seen that, you know. I think I might have seen some footage of it a long, long time ago.
In the Mercedes camp, the air is charged with confidence. Fangio, Moss and Kling have a superb technical service to back them, and an aristocrat of a car.
Did I put the heated seats on? Did you put that heated seat on?
You probably just noticed.
Yeah, did you do that? Hold your mat. Interestingly, the lap was double what the current Grand Prix track is, but yet it only had 21 corners. The current Grand Prix track is 21 as well.
4, 3, 2, 1, partez, messieurs.
So as we've stopped at the beginning of the old circuit, we've just come through Lacombe. This section of track, they would have been doing about 160 miles an hour with no barriers.
It's crazy. I just can't imagine the speeds, you know, one average 160 mile an hour on this kind of track without no barriers or anything, or seatbelts. It's just nuts.
And they were being paid in food stamps and in kind. Should we go and check out the rest of the track?
Yeah, that was not my kind of time.
Look at your youngest fans here.
I'd come and watch when you were racing at McLaren.
I hunted out an old picture. How old would you be there?
Well, it was just when I just signed. Yeah, I was 13.
I could sense your speed then.
No, you didn't. I mean, who the hell is this? Your head's actually shrunk.
Vernonville, 2.5 miles on. Fangio has the lead still.
Right, we've stopped here down at Burnaville, so we're getting into the heart of the old classic circuit. And we've got this image here, which I think we see Pescarolo and a Matra. We can see exactly the house that is still here today.
That's crazy.
The old farm barn there.
And it doesn't even look like any of it's changed. Anyway, there's just no, you know, these people just standing here.
Shall we move on?
Master.
Master, always Fangio in front of Moss and Castellotti.
Thanks, I put my seat on.
Oh, is the seat on? Oh, is your bum hot?
I'm roasting, man. I'm starting to sweat a little bit. Jeez, I'm on fire. So where's the kink?
That's a good question.
There's not really much of a kink. This is the.
Well, when you look back here, you consider they were going flat out.
What speed do you think they were doing there?
I think about 175 miles an hour.
So this one looks like it's the challenging one.
Yeah, because then you've got the bridge as well.
Hollowell Corner. The speed is fantastic.
I'm nervous, and this is 2013.
Yeah, but you're getting old. That's why, man. Oh, there you go.
You keep telling me that.
No. I'm trying to make myself feel younger, that's why. Catching up with you.
How old are you? 25, 26?
Yeah, thanks, man.
Are you? What are you?
28.
Are you really?
Yeah, man, I'm getting old, dude.
Oh, man, that is old. 28 is old. We're now heading down to Stavelot.
This is just flat out down here, man.
So you can actually see the old track. So this is not a road now, this is obviously just a service road. So this has got quite a kink in it.
Quite banked, huh?
Can you imagine coming round here?
And if it goes wrong,
I know. We stopped at Stavelot. Beautiful, sweeping, banked corner that takes us all the way back down to what you know as the Grand Prix track. We can actually see some of what's left of the old Grand Prix track.
Oh yeah, look at that.
In behind the tree,
No
a bit
way.
of Armco. It's you're touching a bit of history there.
I guess there was no barrier up here, it was just a brick wall, man.
Yeah, that was probably considered very secure
Safe.
in those days.
At the beginning of the return ascent, Fangio is on his own in front. With 300 miles of superlative driving behind them, the Mercedes pair press on to victory.
This is so cool. By the time you get here,
Familiar
it's just
territory.
flat out, man.
And Monsieur Backen's checkered flag puts the seal on Fangio's win.
Here we are, bus stop chicane, end of the lap.
The crown of an unforgettable day and of a Belgian Grand Prix high in the tradition of the great Francorchamps circuit.
Keep your fingers crossed for me.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Cheers.
You keep saying I'm old. Can you not squeeze my hand so hard, please?
You used to have a good handshake. What the hell happened?
I got old.
Absolutely glorious. And a few moments ago, as the Sauber comes in behind us of Lewis about to leave the garage and go onto the grid. So off he goes, the pole man. And Eddie, he has said that he hasn't felt very comfortable all weekend. And actually, apart from that crash out yesterday, he hasn't looked very comfortable.
Well, you know, I think Lewis is in a different mindset. He's actually in a different sphere. I think he's enjoying his team. I think he is comfortable.
He definitely is enjoying the team, but in terms of the feel that he was getting from the car, I mean, he was saying that he wasn't getting the feedback that he required, and his dad's here this weekend watching. He really wants to get a back-to-back win mean, of course, after Hungary, where he did seem to turn things around from it just being a pole position, if you can say that, because 4 in a row is phenomenal. But, you know, do you think that Lewis has got what it takes today to go out there and win this race?
I think a lot will depend on the start, Susie. He knows that he's got to make a really, really good getaway. Go through Eau Rouge with a strong gap between himself. The Red Bulls are quicker. Make no mistake, the Red Bulls, with their strategy, or certainly their simulation, they are on the face of it quicker. Lewis knows that. He's got to make a break, and he is able. We saw in Hungary a different Lewis. I think he's on top of his game, and he's enjoying every moment of this. I foresee a situation. I find it difficult to think how he's going to be beaten here, and it'll take a mighty effort from either Mark Webber or whoever it is, Vettel perhaps. You know, I think that Lewis, if he can win this race, he then throws down a big marker. I'm a contender for this championship, because at the moment the points gap is a touch too big. This will be a very determining race as to where the situation unfolds.
Well, I think it was Fernando Alonso who said that the next 3 races are absolutely crucial because they're all so different. We'll see who will take the title really in the next 3 races.
I think possibly even before that, we know McLaren have thrown their hands into the pot. They're out of the equation. They've already admitted that. Ferrari are not far off that, are they? Really? I mean, you have to say they're not doing well enough, and Lotus, usually you consider that Raikkonen is the leader, but in actual fact in the last previous races it's been Grosjean who's been the one who's doing all the pushing. So it's all playing into the hands of Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel. That's where the championship is going to unfold.
Oh, we're just looking at shots there of Laura, who's Paul di Resta's girlfriend, who was certainly inviting her nails yesterday during qualifying. But of course it's also contract time, Eddie, where you know you do see different kinds of drive coming from different drivers, and we've talked a lot yesterday about what's happening at Red Bull. Of course, Mark Webber leaving has set the merry-go-round going, and you feel as though the deal is already done for Daniel Ricciardo.
It's been done a week or so ago. It was done with agreement with Helmut Marko, agreed it with Didier Mateschitz, and it was done a week or 2 ago now. I know Christian denied it yesterday, or sort of denied it, but it will be unfolded. It'll be announced in the next day or so. So that's a done deal. What now is going to happen with Massa? Is Massa going to be retired? Is he going to be replaced? Or, like Alonso wants, he wants him to stay? My guess is that Ferrari will make some sort of a change, and I think there's an opening for either Paul di Resta, Hülkenberg, and of course probably most people are thinking about, could it ever happen again after the bad blood that there was? Could we see Raikkonen back in a Ferrari? That is the big question. My guess is Ferrari need to perform. They're not performing well enough at the moment, and they have to have 2 strong drivers in that car. I believe Raikkonen will go back there.
But if Kimi goes back there, isn't that Montezemolo kind of swallowing his pride and saying, I was wrong before?
It doesn't really matter. Time moves on. We're talking about a new era. There's going to be new engines, completely different package technically for next year, and they need a really wise old owl in both cars. And my guy is that Raikkonen is the right person now, and he will swallow his pride. Luca is not ridiculous. He wants success for that team. Ferrari, remember, he's always said it, no one could ever be as big as the name Ferrari, and he means that.
Well, it is about the future and not about the past, and if you are forward thinking, then I guess that's what you should do. We just saw a wise old owl there in Jensen's dad, didn't we, John, who's just had his 70th birthday, possibly the biggest Formula One fan in the universe, and he had a wonderful time with lots of messages from Bernie and the whole of the paddock and all sorts of stars. So, you know, Jensen was hoping for a podium here, he said at the start of the weekend, but he'll definitely have been hoping for some different kinds of weather, wouldn't he?
I really find surprising at this late stage of the season. I find it unbelievable that McLaren have yet to have a podium this season, and it's really difficult to accept. And because it's, for me, when I was racing, these were the teams you revered. You looked up to them technically in every different aspect, and for McLaren to admit that they're actually now going to put it all to one side and concentrate on next year's car, I find it just surprising.
Well, that's what they said, that's what they're doing. They made the decision. Let's make our decision now and go and see David on the grid.
Why not?
Well, thanks for that, guys. I'm down here just below the starting light. Such a short run to the first corner. 250 metres from the pole, so one of the shortest runs we have. Monaco, of course, is that bit shorter. We're here in the southeast of Belgium as we wait for the cars to come out to the grid. We're near its highest point in Belgium for all you keen mountain climbers out there. About 700 meters is their highest mountain. Half the height of Ben Nevis, of course, in the UK, for those of you who didn't know. We've got Sebastian Vettel here pulling up on the grid. Lewis Hamilton yet to come up on the grid. But Ian, if I could just get you to look down at the actual tarmac here. One thing that's been changed for this year and the teams weren't told about, they have these drainage grooves that have been put sort of partially diagonally across the first 12 starting positions on this grid. Now, of course, this is to help with the sudden downpours that you see here. The only other place on the calendar that has this type of thing is in Belgium, but it's not on the start grid itself. Now, they've not had the opportunity to do a practice start here. It shouldn't make a big difference, quite frankly, but clearly it's going to affect the actual contact that's available from the tyres. As I say, Lewis Hamilton taking some time to come to the grid. And as I said, the other circuit that we have this type of thing is in Brazil, but some way beyond the starting grid. I know that Ross, if I may, I know you just spoke with Eddie before the show there, but you're talking to the Pirelli representative there. Any concerns on the tyres going into the race?
No, just how they'll behave from a performance point of view. We're not completely sure yet.
Looks like your man's arriving there. A little bit late coming to the grid. Is that normal?
We put a few extra laps in before we came on to see what feel we could have for the track.
And any feedback from the driver? He feels good?
It seemed okay. Just to get the balance right more than anything else.
Okay, we'll have a great race. Okay, well, let's just take a little wander down, actually. Get Christian Horner here. Now, Christian, we've been hearing a lot of waffle about who's going to be driving your car here in Belgium. Quite appropriate, I thought. And Mark Webber's decided to announce your driver's way. So can you actually bring us up to speed with what the position is?
I guess the waffle's coming from Eddie, yeah? Look, no decisions have been made yet, so are you still available?
Even if I was, you know that would be a bad decision.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to take a couple of weeks to think things over. You know, we don't need to be a rush. It's not a football transfer window or anything like that. So, you know, and we want to look at all the options and make sure we make the right choice.
Okay, well, we wish you luck with that in the race this afternoon. Just going to go and get a word with his man who's departing the team, talking with his engineer. I'll just give him a little tap and see if it's a good time. Mark, I wasn't sure whether you were having some last conversations with the engineer there. How did it feel going to the grid?
Fine, but I'm really disappointed at the moment with the clutch performance, so we don't know what's going to happen off the line, which is frustrating to say the least. So let's see what happens. The guys are going to try and work on something now, but 2 practice starts are an absolute mess, so not happy about that. Hopefully we can pull out of the bag when the lights go out. After that, the car felt pretty good.
Okay, well, maybe you can just quickly explain why is it so complicated to get this start system working, and are you expecting these serrations in the track here to affect the amount of grip you have when you drop the clutch?
You just want a consistent clutch. Basically, when you release the clutch, the bite point in the clutch needs to be quite consistent. So at the moment, we're shooting in the dark a little bit by the looks of it. And this stuff, yeah, well, we got the option tyre on. We took the prime tyre to the grid, so that's a bit less grip. But we want to use the option off the line, so we'll go from there.
Okay, well, good luck with that. Let's just take a little wander down the middle of the grid here. Doesn't seem actually as busy on this grid as we see at some other Grand Prix. Some gentlemen there. And as I walk up the grid, I see a good-looking British racing driver walking down the grid. Jensen, if we can just get a chat while you're going off the grid there. On the way to the grid, everything's dry out the back. Any concerns?
All dry, all good. It's not supposed to rain for a little while either, I don't think, so it's not so bad.
What time are you told it might rain?
I don't know, you got the same radar as we do.
4 o'clock, by the way. Race should be finished by then. I'm surprised he wouldn't have had a little word with the engineer to know the time, what the rain's expected. Anyway, he's super relaxed, as always, and always good for a chat is Jensen. Just passing Mark Webber's car there. We can see the dry ice. This fan is blowing through this dry ice box and then pouring the dry ice effectively through the cooling system of the engine, just trying to get the maximum cooling through there as the car sits in the grid. For every degree higher that the engine is when you leave the grid, then it can take quite a considerable amount of time to bring that engine temperature down. And of course that just affects the bang for the buck you get when you've gone through the combustion of the engine. So not a good thing. And here's a man that knows a bit about engineering. Sam, if I may, I was just explaining there about how you try to keep the engine temperatures down as much as possible because it affects horsepower. Can you sort of quantify that for the people at home?
Yeah, you could, if you can keep the temperatures down by another 10 degrees, it's worth a few horsepower on the start. So we basically have fans connected to the front of the radiator ducts that are driven off little generators there. And we had dry ice as well, so the dry ice brings the temperatures down as much as we can. So everyone does it on the grid, it just gives you that bit extra. It also keeps you within your margin, so if you have a slow outlap and so the temperatures rise too much, you don't overheat the engine.
Okay, well, we've been talking a lot about tyres this year being a big concern. They don't seem to be a big issue around this circuit. So what is the main thought process that you have ahead of this Grand Prix? What's your worries?
Main thing today, to be honest, it's going to be quite straightforward strategy. It's going to be a one-stop or a two-stop. They're extremely close, they're within a second of each other. And it's, I think from that point of view, that you might have some weather influence. It's not the same as yesterday. Yesterday there was a very clear front coming through that we could track for about 45 minutes before qualifying. That doesn't exist on the radar at the moment, so if there's any rain, it'll be locust showers that pop up, but otherwise it's going to be a straightforward strategy.
Okay, we'll have a good race this afternoon. Right, just wandering a little bit further. Looks like there's a photo shoot going on here at Lotus. What's going on there then? I'll just ask Alan Prinn. Alan, sorry, what's the photo shoot going on? Is someone's birthday?
It's Jenny's birthday, actually, 40 today.
Wow. I don't think she'll appreciate you announcing that she's 40. You said 30.
Yeah, okay, 30.
Any concerns ahead of the race?
No, none at all. Radar's looking clear, although here you never can tell. No, we're looking forward to making some progress.
You must feel you're out of position after that messy qualifying.
Yeah, I think we are a little bit. We certainly, these two in front of us, we should be in front of them, but they're very quick on the straight, so that's going to be our test to get past them as early as we can.
Have a good race. Let's take a walk further down the field. We've got Kimi Räikkönen there, been out qualified by Romain Grosjean for the third time. It seemed that he had the upper hand on Romain in qualifying so far this year. So I don't know, after a messy qualifying session like yesterday, we can read too much into it. But you have to say Romain, who is sitting just in front of him, has had a much better season so far this year. I'm sure no one has reminded him of his start here in Spa a few years ago. And as we get further down the grid, then we can see Fernando Alonso. That's an unusual position for him. Let's just look down to the lights and the amount, okay, there won't obviously be this amount of people when the lights go out, but nonetheless, he's got quite a distance to go before he'll pass the starting point of Lewis Hamilton. And he'll be hoping to try and take advantage of any mess at La Source and the opportunity to overtake as he runs out through Eau Rouge. Gets back to, as we go outside the top 10, it all becomes a bit more familiar here in terms of the setup. Adrian Sutil, he's been pretty much there or thereabouts with Paul di Resta through free practice, so he slipped a little bit. Of course, Sergio Perez, who I know has just wandered off the grid. I might just try and grab a quick word here with an old McLaren man. Sorry to come in. Pat, you're visiting your old friends at McLaren?
Yes, just having a look.
And what do you look at when you have a look? Can you sort of give us a pointer?
Well, there's good ideas on all cars, so you've got to try and find out what you think works, what doesn't, and what might work for us.
Now, I had a word this morning from a respected journalist saying that if it had been a completely dry qualifying, Ferrari would have been in the front row. It didn't look like that from Friday for me, but is that what your thoughts were?
Friday was a little messy for us, I have to say. I think, yeah, we managed to get the right bits together, the right car together for Saturday, but yeah, I mean, I'm not sure whether we'll be on the front row, but we'd win on the front two rows, I would have thought.
Well, have a good race. Enjoy. All right, well done. Before I go that way, I forgot what direction I was going. Let's keep walking down past Van der Garde. It has to be noted, this was a great qualifying from the Caterham team and, of course, Bianchi in the Marussia and, of course, Max Chilton. So just have a word here with Graham Loudon here, sitting in front. That was a great qualifying situation for you yesterday. You must be well pleased. And how long can you keep this position? Because the underlying race pace, although better than qualifying usually shows, it's going to be tough for you.
Yeah, you know, we've got to look at the overall race, and you know, we'd obviously swap a good qualifying for a good result in the race itself. You know, focus will be on having a better race pace in Caterham, get ahead of them, and just see where we go from there. As you know well, you've driven around here long enough. Anything can happen here, so we just got to make sure in the right place, the right time, give the drivers a good chance.
Well, best of British to you, and it's certainly been a great day of British motorsport so far. We've had winners in the GP3 and the GP2 championship. Will we have another one this afternoon with Lewis Hamilton? Back to Susie.
Well, not long to go to find out. Eddie and I have come out into the paddock, got Eau Rouge over our shoulder, and some really interesting stuff there going on. But of course, it was great to see Marussia both drivers into Q2 yesterday for the first time, and Guido van der Garde going off 14th. It's quite exciting when the grid gets a little bit mixed up and out of place, isn't it?
Yesterday evening I went and said well done to the Marussia guys, and it was like as if they just won the race. It was a really new territory for them, and that's so exciting, really. People often focus just on the front. They think about Lewis, they think about what's going on the first couple of rows. Further back, I often think, you know, that's where the real hardcore fans, racing people who've spent their life doing it, and Marussia is a perfect example of that.
No, exactly. Talking of real racing and races that cause controversy, Lee caught up earlier with Sergio Perez. We can hear from him now.
Well, maybe not the qualifying that you'd hoped for yesterday, Sergio, but what can you do today?
Well, definitely, I think yesterday we were quite unlucky. Today we have to give our best and try to get into the points and a bit further. I think the car is performing good, and hopefully the weather can change a bit to improve a bit for us.
Okay, have a good race. Thank you.
Well, Jenson Button there, British driver, obviously wonder whether they can continue that success, as they were saying earlier. And Sam Bird yesterday won. It's been quite successful for the old country.
Well, it's been a phenomenal weekend. David, absolutely spot on. Motor racing, you're always very keen. And who drives on this? I always thought that there was no Grand Prix racers in Germany until Michael Schumacher came. So he was the inspiration for all the young kids. And I think it started with Jenson, Nigel Mansell, of course, James Hunt. There's so many great names all the way through. And of course, now it's Lewis Hamilton. So the next generation, we all see them coming through. The Max Chiltons and various other things. Like Jenson is not at that level, of course. He's at the senior end of the things. But he's been a great inspiration for a lot of these young kids at home.
Well, all those fans will be really excited now with the race happening in just a few minutes. Let's take a closer look at the track now. We'll be on board with Lewis Hamilton.
The Belgian Grand Prix at Spa, one of the true classic races on the calendar. It's also the longest lap that we have at just over 7 kilometres. In dry conditions, that gives you an average speed of around 145 miles an hour. So this is a circuit the drivers really love. Starting the lap here with the pole man, Lewis Hamilton. You see that little flash of red light in front of you? That's Sebastian Vettel, who eventually ended up in second place. So they're both doing it on the last lap of this qualifying session. Hamilton getting the advantage of being able to use the Red Bull as a marker in these ever-changing conditions. Down the hill to Eau Rouge, let's listen. One downshift, brave over the top of the hill as he rides the curbs. Never can be quite clear as to how much grip you'll have there on a damp track. Vettel's red light flashing like a rabbit's tail in the distance as you go along the Kemmel Straight. Up to Lecombe, huge amount of speed as they enter the first part of this corner, understeering through here. Lewis Hamilton starting to build his lap. He actually lost time in the first sector, but this middle sector of the lap, he's a massive 1 second faster than the Red Bull car. As he exits Rivage, he's got good positioning for turn 9, and this is a section of the lap where you really drop down the hill back towards the pitch you can see in the distance. At this point in the qualifying session, in the dying seconds, checker flags out. Paul di Resta was sitting on pole position, thinking this could be the first of his career. But meanwhile, as the track dries, it's one of the peculiarities of Spa that you just gain massive lap time. Last man across the line is usually fastest, and also Lewis Hamilton has the advantage of being able to use the Red Bull as a sighter for has there been any other rain around the rest of this lap. Coming towards the end of the lap as he comes out through turn 15, this is all the flat out section that takes him down through Blanchimont. This is very much a case of pick the line of least resistance. Blanchimont coming up, this is one of the brave corners, especially on a drying track. Sebastian Vettel's light flashing ahead. It's difficult to tell whether at this stage Hamilton has been able to gain anything over the entire lap, but as they come through the last chicane, he's visibly closer to the Red Bull. Red Bull goes across the line, Vettel takes pole position. 3 seconds later, Hamilton takes his 4th consecutive pole position, his 5th of the season. Cue happiness in the Mercedes garage, and the big question mark is, can he convert this to his 2nd straight victory of the year?
If you've never been to Spa, you really ought to make it a date for your diary. The last 5 winners here have all been different, and they are all on the grid today. Will it be history repeating itself, or will there be a new name to add to the list?
Paid the cost to be the boss.
goes Belgium.
Having fun, got money fun.
Lewis Hamilton has won.
Paint the car, be the ball.
Jenson Button takes victory at Spa.